What's up, everyone? Welcome back. These are some of my favorite days when I get these in the mail. These are a rod. So obviously this is from Shimano. I'll talk about this new swim bait rod right now. I've been waiting for this for a while, and here it is. I'll give you my first impressions. First time holding one. I'll tell you all about it right now once I crack this thing open. Thanks everyone for watching. As you know, we do a lot of these sort of videos, unboxings, and then down the line I will do a review after I fished it for a few months. And this is a swim bait rod. This is an Outlier from Shimano. We're gonna take a look at it. I saw them at ICAST, so I guess I have kind of looked at them. But truly, this is my first look at it. This is, I believe, a 710 heavy. I'm gonna double check on that, but I think that's the one that's in here. So here it is. Comes with a case. First thing I noticed, a neoprene case. The other thing you'll notice is, look, it's a two-piece. This is kind of a trend, especially in Japanese rods, you know, to have, you know, kind of more portability. So you actually just slide that in there. Yeah, I know a lot of times two-piece rods kind of have a negative connotation, especially when you're talking like more inexpensive stuff where you pop them in place and sometimes you'll cast and one piece will fly out. This is totally different. This is a refined, high-end rod and reel that's, you know, $400 rod that is a two-piece. So you actually just slide that section into this. But let's look at this too while I have it. So this is unique. It's a EVA grip, but I remember this is like a heat shrink or something like that. They did something to it. So it's a little different than your standard EVA, the way they apply it on there. And then it's got the CI4 reel seat. Originally, or just initially, it looks a lot like, kind of like the X-Bride. I know it's the same company, but just kind of the same styling. Just from that, I mean, I love my X-Brides, but that's what it kind of gives me the feeling of right away. So it's EVA with a little bit of cork. Then it comes with this neoprene case. So yeah, it's a 710 heavy plus. So one thing I'm going to be kind of curious of is how easy it is to connect. I'm sure it's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Let's take a look. So it's got SIC ring guides. I'm just reading off of this what it says. It's the Outlier, Shimano's most advanced blank materials and technologies for swim bait anglers. So this is really a specific for swim bait, glide bait sort of thing. So it's a really beefy tip here. 710 heavy plus. So I'll give you some of the info on the ratings here. So it's 3 to 6 ounces. So this is a big dog. So 12 to 25 pound test, or braid 40 to 65. So it's a moderate action as well. So this is a beefy setup that I'm going to use for, you know, my bigger glides. They also came out with a new glide bait as well, Shimano, and then I'm going to put my Tranx 300 on this. But this, yeah, it definitely feels a lot like the X-Bride. I mean, it is very similar. It's got the X braiding wrap. I don't know how well you can see that on there, but it's kind of this process they use to strengthen the blank. I really like that. It does work really well. But yeah, that is a beefy rod that I'm going to be using for glides. 710 is a good length too. You know, you could throw stuff up to like the 250, depths 250. It's a little bit more than 6 ounces, so I guess it's technically out of it. But really, any of your standard glide baits or swim baits will be great for this. It feels really light though, even though it's a huge rod. You know, rated 3 to 6 ounces. That is a beefy rod. But it feels light. You know, I have a lot of swim bait rods. I have, you know, 3 or 4 different ones that are kind of clunky and bulky. You know, they do the job by handling those big baits, but they are kind of, you know, just heavy, and you gotta just factor that in when you're casting. This one feels a lot lighter. I don't know the actual weight or the specs, but feels very light and comfortable. It's got a really long handle at the end too, you know, so you can make those long two-handed casts if you want. You know, that's a big section of the split grip. You know, typically the split is only about that. Again, it's a 710 rod though. But yeah, first impressions, this thing is really lightweight. The Outlier looks really cool, if that means anything to you. It's got the Spiral X, the High Power X, all double foot heavy duty guides as well, you know, because you're going to be using heavy stuff, heavy line, and hopefully battling some big fish. But yeah, I guess it's pretty simple to adjust. Let's see, pop it out. Makes it easier to store. You know, if you have you know, short ceilings in your house or your garage, that's something else to consider. Or your truck, or if you have a car. I mean, it's just going to make it a lot easier to put a 7'10" rod in there with that two-piece. It's kind of new to me, but I have seen that in a lot of JDM rods where they do the two-piece thing. Like, I don't think I have any like this. I've seen them though in some of the Mega Bass and some other brands, but that is something that's really popular over there, so it must work. But yeah, this thing is impeccable looking. I mean, it's a really good looking rod. That's my first impressions with it. Like I said, I will fish this thing for real and let you know. They have some really good reviews. I did take a look on Tackle Warehouse. You know, you got to kind of take those reviews with a grain of salt, you know, because sometimes if people have bad experiences for whatever reason, they're gonna just rip a product. This only had 3 reviews, but it was 5 out of 5. So there's 3 really good reviews about it. So that's a pretty good sign. Not a lot of reviews, not a big sample size, but that's pretty impressive. And I have to say, I mean, first look, looks awesome. So again, I will do a more detailed review with some more, you know, on the water stuff versus just reading these specs here. But so far, so good. I like the look of it, and it feels really light and balanced. Now I just need to go take it out and go catch some fish.